Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Cricket Corner podcast once again for another reaction to the squads which have been announced. This time it's Team India, and they've announced the squad for the Asia Cup, which could basically be a provisional squad for the World Cup. But the BCCI apparently have not called it a provisional squad for the World Cup and have instead announced a 17-man squad for the Asia Cup, and which could probably be the same for the Australian series and the World Cup, but it is pretty much looking like that this is the provisional squad for the World Cup, even though they have not termed it as one. But yeah, let's just look at from the perspective of just the Asia Cup, because there have been some notable exclusions. There have been some really good inclusions. So yeah, let's get going and start by name dropping the squad. Well, if you are listening this on YouTube, then make sure you're liking, sharing, and subscribing. I'm saying this already because the World Cup and the Asia Cup, it's going to be heavily covered on the Cricket Corner podcast, and you don't want to miss out on on future episodes basically. And if you're listening this on Spotify, then make sure you're following, liking, and giving me those 5-star ratings. But yeah, enough of those housekeeping stuff. Let's get into the squad by and let's name drop the Indian squad for the Asia Cup, the 2023 Asia Cup. India have named 17 players and a reserve wicketkeeper. We'll get to that in just a moment. But yeah, here goes the squad. I don't remember at the top of my head. I have my phone right in front of me, and I'm going to read out the Indian squad for the Asia Cup. So yeah, here it goes. We have Rohit Sharma as captain, Shubman Gill, Virat Kohli, Shreyas Iyer, Surya Kumar Yadav, Tilak Verma, KL Rahul, Ishan Kishan, Hardik Pandya, Ravindra Jadeja. There's Shardul Thakur, Akshar Patel, Kuldeep Yadav, Jasprit Bumrah, Mohammad Siraj, Mohammad Shami, and Prasidh Krishna. And the traveling standby player is a wicketkeeper in the form of Sanju Samson. So yeah, really interesting squad. So many good players, so many first team regulars have returned to this Indian squad. The likes of KL Rahul is back, Shreyas Iyer is back. That will give so much stability in the middle order. Obviously, Jasprit Bumrah is back. Yes, he's been playing in the ongoing Ireland series, but this is the first proper squad which he'll be a part of. There's obviously the return of Mohammad Shami and Mohammad Siraj from their rest after playing test matches in West Indies. They have got a nice long break as well. So it is a really good squad, don't get me wrong. And even though there have been notable exclusions, the likes of Ravichandran Ashwin have missed out. Yuzvendra Chahal is probably the biggest name to miss out on the team. But yeah, this squad is really good. And I want to start by talking about the players which have been included in the middle order, who are going to walk straight into the middle order, that is, and those are Shreyas Iyer and KL Rahul. Now, in their absence, basically, we have seen India struggle. Now, don't get me wrong, India have barely played limited overs cricket with a full strength squad. We had a one day series in West Indies, a T20 series in West Indies. We are currently playing a T20 series in Ireland as well. But India have not played their full strength squad in either of those three one day or T20 innings, the limited overs series. But the likes of Shreyas Iyer and KL Rahul are really important when you look at not only limited overs cricket but also in test matches, like when India played Australia in the World Test Championship final earlier this year at the Oval. India were not having the best of the middle orders. You had someone like Ajinkya Rahane coming back into the test setup. This is mainly down to the absentee of Shreyas Iyer or KL Rahul. Now, yeah, KL Rahul usually opens the innings in test matches, but you get the point that India have not been full strength ever since these two have not featured in either the test setup or in the limited over setup. I think Shreyas Iyer last played in the Border Gavaskar Trophy back in February, and he picked up the knock, didn't feature in the IPL, and is now coming back into the national team setup. KL Rahul played the initial matches in the IPL, but then he picked up a knock and is now featuring once again for the first time. Someone like Jasprit Bumrah is already back, but we'll talk about him later on. But yeah, this is really good for Team India that they are having Shreyas Iyer and KL Rahul back. I'm not quite sure how many games they will play in the Asia Cup, because there could have been a possibility that you pick a 15-man provisional squad for the World Cup that will not only play in the Asia Cup but will also play in the Australian one day series, which is right after the Asia Cup. But unfortunately for India, that is not the case. They've named a 17-man squad. Now, one of the reasons why they have picked a 17-man squad is basically there could be an argument stating that you cannot expect someone like KL Rahul and Shreyas Iyer to play all the games in the Asia Cup, heading into the Australian series, and then feature heavily in the World Cup as well. They are just returning from injury. They have not played competitive international cricket for almost 4 5 months now. So there are question marks about their fitness, and rightly so. So basically, they might want to give them a platform to get into the groove, play some competitive cricket, and then check their fitness before the team name their provisional squad for the World Cup. I think the deadline for that is the 5th of September, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, I think it is the 5th of September, isn't it? And then you have to name your final squad by the 28th of September. I think that's what I read on the ECB's website when England announced their squad a couple of days back for the provisional squad of the World Cup, that is, yeah. So if that's the case, I think 5th of September is right towards the end or while the Asia Cup is happening. So I think that's a right place to judge a player's fitness and make a decision whether you want to add them in the World Cup setup or not. Well, yeah, so basically that could be the rationale behind picking a 17-man squad instead of, picking up decisive 15-man squad, which will take you to the World Cup. But yeah, I think should Shreyas Iyer and KL Rahul be fit, I think they've walked into the starting lineup without any discussions whatsoever. India have picked, let me just check. Yeah, India have picked Tilak Varma and Surya Kumar Yadav, so they could play in place of Shreyas Iyer or KL Rahul depending on the situation. You must say that maybe India playing somewhere like Afghanistan or Nepal, you want to switch up things. These are the kind of players who can walk in and replace someone like KL Rahul and Iyer if situation needs. But yeah, so that's the middle order setup. Apart from that, there are barely any surprises as far as the batting side is concerned for Team India. uh, there is obviously Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill who are going to open. This is a one-day tournament heading into the World Cup, so you expect Virat Kohli to bat at number three. None of those West Indies kind of experimentations when you just give batting to everyone and hope for the best. I don't think India is going to do that any longer or anymore, because that caused some upturn in the fan base on social media. So yeah, those experiments are long gone, I guess. But yeah, surprising decisions start when you look at the bowling lineup. Don't get me wrong, it is not a surprise to see Bumrah, Shami, and Siraj back into the setup, because it's been so long to see these three back in the squad together, and it's finally happening. Now, whether all of those three players will play together, I'm not quite sure, but we'll get into the starting 11 later on in this podcast. So yeah, stay tuned for that. But it is the exclusion of Yuzvendra Chahal, which has been talked about on social media and on fan forums across the internet. Uh, Yuzvendra Chahal has been one of India's primary spinners in the limited overs setup for the past 5 6 7 years now. He has had a good partnership with Kuldeep Yadav. The two have been excellent. We saw that in the 2019 World Cup last time around in England. So, but over the recent times, I think Yuzvendra Chahal has found it difficult to get into the Indian setup. He was not there. So if we look at the English Indian setup after the COVID-19 pandemic, Chahal was not part of the squad for the 2021 T20 World Cup in UAE. He was there for the T20 World Cup in 2022. He was there in the squad, didn't get a game because India opted to play Ravichandran Ashwin, and now he's going to miss the Asia Cup, which is probably a full stop on his World Cup dreams as well. Um, Rightfully or wrongly, well, you decide, because if India want to play three spinners, they have got three spinners. You can play Akshar Patel, Ravindra Jadeja, and Kuldeep Yadav. Ravindra Jadeja is someone who is a bridge between the batting and the bowling, so he's there as the fulcrum, so he'll be there in the starting 11. Kuldeep Yadav has been excellent recently, so he's going to be there. So that probably takes out a lower order batting all rounder spot if you want to fit in someone like Yuzvendra Chahal, who, let's get it right, he's not the best with the bat when it comes to batting lower down the order. You want someone like Shardul Thakur or Akshar Patel towards that lower order batting if circumstances needs you to do so, and you cannot expect Chahal to be, giving you 20, 30 odd runs of 20, 30 odd deliveries. So unfortunately, I think the batting might have taken the I think batting is the reason why Chahal is not picked and someone like Akshar Patel is there in the squad. Kuldeep Yadav is there, but he is there as a frontline spinner. So I think that's the reason why they have gone with someone like Kuldeep Yadav and Akshar Patel instead of going with someone like Yuzvendra Chahal. Excellent with the ball, yes, but doesn't contribute with the bat, and that's the kind of team that Team India usually picks. I think Harsha Bhogle said it one of the posts he made on Twitter, or X if you want to call it. But yeah, it's he basically stated that the reason some of the bowlers are not contributing with the bat and the batsmen are not contributing with the ball, and that is the reason why India has to go with proper five batsmen, an all-rounder, and bowlers, so they can have at least six bowling options heading into the World Cup, because you are expected to bowl a 10 overs in the one day international, and what if someone can bowl only six? What will you do with the next 4 overs? So that's why you need a sixth bowling option as well. That is why India have a very designated batting lineup, an all-rounder, a wicket keeper, and the bowling. You if you have heard the podcast where I talked about the England squad, there you might have noticed that there are so many all-rounders who can not only bat but contribute with the ball, and there are so many bowlers who can not only bowl but contribute with the bat as well. There is someone like David Willey, Liam Livingston, there's obviously Sam Curran in there as well. Mark Wood can bat, Chris Wokes can bat, Adil Rashid can bat. There is obviously Reece Topley, who is just a bowler but can contribute as well. So England do have that. India unfortunately don't, but that's the team composition as far as the Indian side is concerned. Now, talking about the team composition, let's get into that and talk about other options which India had. So there is no surprise to me that Shubman Gill and Rohit Sharma will open the innings for India. Kohli will be at number three. Then you can have Shreyas Iyer at four, KL Rahul at five. That's where you draw the line as far as the specialist batsmen are concerned, because then you have Hardik Pandya at number six. Hardik Pandya has been given the vice captaincy. There have been talks recently stating that Jasprit Bumrah might be given the vice captaincy, but no, it is Hardik Pandya who is the vice captain for the Asia Cup heading into the World Cup as well. So you expect him to feature heavily not only in the Asia Cup but in the World Cup as well. So he'll be at number six. Ravindra Jadeja, I think, probably the best all-rounder in world cricket right now, so you have to have him there. He'll be at number seven. Then you can either have someone like Akshar Patel or Shardul Thakur, depending on the conditions, depending on the wicket, that you need an extra seamer or an extra spinner. So one of those can be at number eight. Then you have Mohammad Shami, Kuldeep Yadav, and Jasprit Bumrah. I think it is really difficult for Team India to have Bumrah, Shami, Siraj in a playing 11 for a series which is happening in the subcontinent. The Asia Cup is happening in Sri Lanka, and the World Cup obviously in India. So it's very difficult to see them going with three quicks, with Hardik Pandya being the fourth seamer. I don't think that is a possibility. So because basically you have to play Kuldeep Yadav, he is your frontline spinner. So if Kuldeep Yadav plays, you can either play one of Siraj, Akshar Patel, or Shardul Thakur. Now, uh, out of those three players, which is Shardul Thakur, Akshar Patel, and Mohammad Siraj, two of them can contribute with the bat as well. So that takes priority over picking an extra seamer. So I think the choice is basically Akshar Patel or Shardul Thakur, and I would personally go with Akshar Patel because he offers a lot with the bat, while Shardul Thakur, I think, bowls a little bit more than Akshar Patel, if you personally ask me. But that's completely on the team selectors, the Indian management. Another important point to discuss here is the inclusion of Surya Kumar Yadav in a one-day squad, and that is over Sanju Samson. I think a fair it was a straight fight between either you go with Sanju Samson or you go with someone like Surya Kumar Yadav, and India have gone with the latter. They have gone with Sky, and I have a comparison table here with comparing the stats of Surya Kumar Yadav and Sanju Samson. Surya Kumar Yadav obviously has got more runs, but he averages just 24 in one day internationals, while someone like Sanju Samson averages 55, playing at a strike rate of 104, while regardless of how highly you rate Sky, his strike rate actually is 101, which is three short of someone like Sanju Samson. But you associate someone like Surya Kumar Yadav as a lower order finisher. You look at the Australian squad and the English squad, which have been announced for the World Cup, their provisional squad. You see both of those sides have a hard hitting batsman who comes lower down the order, which you can term as a finisher. For someone like the Australians, they have someone like Glenn Maxwell or Marcus Stoinis coming down at number 6 or number 7, who can give you those quick fire 40, 50 runs if needed. They can chase down a target when the situation demands you to play at 8 or 9 runs per over. Someone like Maxwell or Stoinis can do that. If you look at the English setup, they have someone like Liam Livingston coming down there at 5, 6 or 7, depending on the situation. He can score those quick fire runs. I think India lacked that option. Yes, you have someone like Hardik Pandya here, but he's been quite inconsistent with the bat off recently. Yes, he scored some good runs in the West Indies series, but having someone like Surya Kumar Yadav who can take the game to the opposition is really, really important. Now, stats basically suggest that someone like Sanju Samson has a very good strike rate compared to Surya Kumar Yadav, but Sanju Samson's consistency has caused some issues, and Sanju Samson is not someone who you expect to come down at 5, 6, or even number 7. While someone like Surya Kumar Yadav, you can drop him down the batting order and expect some quick fire runs over there. Sanju Samson is primarily a middle order batsman, and he doesn't fit into that middle order when you have someone like KL Rahul and Shreyas Iyer returning to the squad as well. So it is really difficult for someone like Sanju Samson to break into the squad because of the position he plays in the playing 11. He's not a lower order destroyer, which Surya Kumar Yadav can be, even though he's not had that opportunity in the one day setup as well. But from his T20 from his T20 form over the past couple of years, we have seen how good or dangerous he can be, and we can picture the same scenario when bedding down over there. But regardless of Surya being a lower or destroyer, I think he doesn't fit into the playing 11 regardless. So if you want a fast scoring player, go with someone like Surya Kumar Yadav, and I think it's a flip of a coin. I could have seen why BCCI could have opted for someone like Sanju Samson, but they have gone with someone like Surya Kumar Yadav. I'm not quite. I'm not sold out on either Sanju or Sky. If you have your thoughts, you can let me know in the description or in the comment section below, or you can tweet it out to me as well about whether you would have preferred someone like Sanju Samson over Surya Kumar Yadav. But that's another decision for the selectors to make. But yeah, tip- ah, as things stands, I'm quite happy with the squad. I'm really happy to see Tilak Verma getting a go as well. Yes, he's not had the best of the series in Ireland, a note in the first T20 and just one run in the second T20, but I think he has shown enough promise in West Indies. I think he was probably India's best batsman in that shady West Indies series which we just had, where India lost 3-2 in the T20s. He can bowl a bit as well. You saw that in, I think, the last T20, was it, or the fourth T20? I don't quite remember, but yeah, he can bowl a bit as well, so he can be someone you can count on. But I think that's a arrow thrown too far in the dark. Let's just focus on the Asia Cup. Yeah, but yes, I mentioned earlier in this podcast, this is a 17-man squad, 18 if you include Sanju Samson as the reserve wicketkeeper, and you need a 15-man squad. So basically, there'll be two players who drop out of this Asia Cup squad, and for me personally, it has to be one of the seamers who drops out and a middle order batsman. Someone like Ishan Kishan, I think he's going to be there, because if you're playing an ICC tournament or a tournament for a prolonged period of time, you need at least two wicket keepers. So someone like Ishan Kishan, there's obviously KL Rahul who can take the gloves as well. So there is no need for someone like Sanju Samson to be in the squad for in the 15-man squad. That is, for me personally, I would see Prashit Krishna drop out. He's had a good outing in Ireland, but I think with the likes of Jasprit Bumrah, Mohammad Siraj, and Mohammad Shami in the squad, with Hardik Pandya as your fourth seamer, and Shardul Thakur as your fifth seamer, so you basically have five seam bowling options right there. So you don't need a sixth one. So I think it is very, very likely that Prachit Krishna will drop out of this Asia Cup squad for the World Cup. And I think Tilak Verma is on the edge as well. I think regardless of how much promise you have shown in the West Indies, and you have been backed to play in the Asia Cup as well, I think it's too early for someone like Tilak Verma to be in the squad for a major tournament like the World Cup, because it's either you pick Tilak Verma or you pick someone like Ishan Kishan. Now, Ishan Kishan, mainly because he's a wicket keeper, he's going to be there in the squad, because otherwise you are going into a World Cup with just one wicket keeper in the form of KL Rahul. Let me just check. Yeah, you're just going there with just one wicket keeper, and you need at least two of them, because not only it's a prolonged tournament and anything can happen with your wicket keeper, out of form, anything else. But KL Rahul is just returning from an injury, so you basically need an extra wicket keeper for safety purposes. So I would see Tilak Verma and Prashit Krishna dropping out of this squad if there are no further injuries to this Indian setup. But yeah, that is the Indian squad for the Asia Cup, which could very well be a provisional squad for the World Cup. But as I mentioned earlier in this podcast, that BCCI have not termed this as a provisional squad for the World Cup. Just to remind the listeners and the viewers, what is the Indian squad for the Asia Cup? Let me name drop the squad once again. We have Rohit Sharma as captain, Shubman Gill, Virat Kohli, there's Shreyas Iyer, Surya Kumar Yadav, Tilak Verma, KL Rahul, Ishan Kishan, Hardik Pandya, Ravindra Jadeja, Shardul Thakur, Akshar Patel, Kuldeep Yadav, Jasprit Bumrah, Mohammad Siraj, Mohammad Shami, and Prasidh Krishna. That's the squad. Very, very strong squad, if you personally ask me. And I think this squad has probably made India the favorites for the Asia Cup, and probably one of the favorites for the World Cup as well. But only time will tell what India will do in the ICC tournaments, because we haven't won one since 2013, haven't we? But this is probably our best chance of winning a World Cup. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed this podcast. Make sure you're liking, sharing, and subscribing on YouTube. As I mentioned, if you're listening this on Spotify or Apple Podcast, then make sure you're giving me those juicy 5-star ratings. However, for the time being, this is me, Vatsalvora, signing off. Ciao for now.